Hey, Bill, thanks for coming on. And we have to disguise you and not have your video on here in case people want to use Bill Gates software of facial recognition of any sort and track you down. No, but I joke that I don't trust any of those people, to be totally honest with you. But we are here to talk about glorious oil and gas because gas right now is really cheap. And you were here mid-March and we were talking about, at that time, it wasn't cheap, right? And it's been going up. And how many days right now do you know? I lost track of record prices. How many days in a row are we on that now?
How many days in a row we are?
A lot, right?
Oh, well, I don't know. I can tell you this much. In the 16 months that Biden's been president, we've had fuel increases 15 months of the 16. So we're hitting basically new records every day.
Every single day. Yeah. And back then, you were talking because they were putting out, oh, here we go, right? Disinformation, misinformation, or they'll come up with a new word for lying. They will come up with something in the near future. They love playing the word game. That we had to call that out. And that was part of you coming on. You were on Rob Kendall's show who's on with me with the dudes on the right, or the right dudes on the right dudes. And we were talking, he had you on, I listened to it and I went, I need to have Bill on because I need an expert to talk about the facts, not this, oh, it's Russia, it's this, it's that, it's groundhogs in Maine. Who knows? They come up with everything.
Right.
And I went, let's talk about the facts from someone who's in the oil industry of how this is really working. So if you could recap on how we've gotten here, because I don't think the pattern's changed, right?
Sure. All right. No, it's worth going into because and I'll talk about this latest press release that our government just made today. But so basically, at the end of 2014, OPEC decided to flood the market with cheap oil, and prices were around $80 a barrel. We then got down to around $25 to $30 a barrel over the next couple of years, and they stayed that low really for the better part of 5 years. So what OPEC was trying to do was to control the market again, that they had given up when the United States had become energy independent, which had occurred in 2014. We were selling oil and exporting oil to other countries that traditionally OPEC had sold to, and they weren't happy about that. So their whole goal was to put us out of the oil industry out of business, and they were very successful at doing that. And a lot of oil companies went out of business over that 2015 to 2020 period. Obviously, with the pandemic hitting, that was kind of like the second big blow that hit. So basically, we've had 7 years with relatively low energy prices, and I say low, below $50 a barrel, which is below the cost of drilling a new well. I mean, you wouldn't drill a new well when prices are that low. So we've had virtually no drilling of any new wells in the last 7 years. In 2014, we were doing about 1,900 rigs were in operation at one time. Right now, the number is down around 600. At the middle of the pandemic, we were down to 400. So the numbers come back up a little bit, but we're still, down 70% in drilling rigs since 2014. And a lot of that is, virtually all of it is totally due to President Biden. Because, just before he became president, he made a number of recorded statements saying that, one of his goals during his presidency was to get rid of the oil and gas industry, get rid of fossil fuels. And, to go to green energy was the way that he wanted the country to go. And because of that, the capital flow that would normally come into our business with these prices being this good today, we haven't seen. Because when you're being told by the president of the United States that a business you're thinking about or an industry you're thinking about investing in, he wants to go out of business in a relatively short period of time, it's just scared a lot of investors away. So that was the big thing. But I think the other thing is that his constituency was the green energy people, and they didn't want to see return to the way we were before. So he's really kind of trapped. He can't go back and try to reopen or get the fossil fuel industry going again, because he's told everybody that's what he wants to have go away, and have green energy projects instead replace it. And as we all know, green energy largely doesn't work, and it's prohibitively expensive. And it doesn't replace the amount of energy that we need in this country today. So we've had a period now of 7 years where we've been very depressed as an industry, and we've had a lot of consolidation within the industry. But we are also like everybody else. We can't find workers. We can't find materials. The cost of steel for tubing, for example, has gone through the roof. We can't find just the normal chemicals to frack a well are very hard to find. So it's just one thing after another that we've been fighting for the last 7 years. And we got a president that basically is telling us, he wants us to just shut down and go out of business.
Well, and it's the hypocrisy, right? All these people pounding their chests, the John Kerry's, Biden, and AOC. Well, AOC owns an electric car, but she bought it because it was cool, and she had no idea. Kamala Harris doesn't even know where one plugs in. None of these people own any of these alternative energy devices of any sort. They've never lived on solar. They don't have solar panels on their houses. They all fly around in private jets. It's asinine. And I'm a guy. And when people come at me on any of this, I go, you do realize I lived off grid, right? I built a house that used alternative energy. I know how this shit works firsthand. And they're like, oh God, I didn't know that. I go, it works. It does work. The technology is there. It's not highly efficient. And you have to rely on some source. Very few people who live off grid can rely on purely alternative energy. Almost all of us, everyone I've ever met, we have propane tanks. We have to have backup systems, because there's times when the sun doesn't shine. There's times, and I found wind power is highly inefficient, way inefficient. And like people go, well, how about geothermal? I go, yeah, it works. But the problem is the equipment is incredibly expensive. And is it not quite there? Not even close to quite there.
Right.
But it's cost prohibitive. When I did the math on what I had to put into my solar system, and this was before all the high prices and everything took off, and all the supply chain issues, I could not save enough money to get my money back probably in my lifetime of just if I was on the grid, just paying an electric bill.
Right.
I live in Arizona, and I'm smart. I built a very energy efficient house. I have reflective tint on the windows. I have cloth blinds. I've been through this. I have spray foam. I have a heat pump, but it's a small house, so I can do this. So I tested new stuff out that's on the grid. There's other things you can do on top of supplementing with alternative energy. Alternative energy has to be looked at as a supplement.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, to slowly get ourselves into this, because the infrastructure is not there. There's so many issues to be had, and we're sitting on the biggest reserves in the world.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Well, here's the thing that I find so interesting is that I didn't get the quote today, but it's up on Bloomberg. Earlier today, Saudi Arabia and OPEC announced that they were going to increase production by half a million barrels starting in July. So here's the headlines. United States praises OPEC and Saudi Arabia for accelerating oil hikes. Well, since they announced it, prices have gone up about $2 a barrel, because the amount of oil hikes that they thought they were originally going to announce is much smaller than what they actually what they're doing now. So we thought originally that they were going to give us maybe 1 million, 2 million barrels of oil. Now it's 500,000. So virtually, it's just nothing.
Well, we have to fill that gap for Russia now, right? Now, after all,
exactly.
Because what we do is we're slitting our own throat by getting rid of our own energy independence to buy oil from Russia, Venezuela, and now dip into Saudi Arabia again. Right. I mean, talk about asinine. And people who think that's good, we are dealing with idiots in this country. We really
are. Just the fact that we're praising OPEC OPEC's what caused this whole problem 7 years ago, going back to 2014.
They tried to put us out of business.
Yeah, try to put us out of business. So and I mean, they hate us. They all hate us.